Hey guys, welcome to another podcast of Kev Jai, where we just talk about anything and everything that comes through our mind, and we keep it real all the time. So welcome. So today, what we wanted to do is we wanted to just kind of talk about how do we raise kids in the year 2025. Myself and Jai, we are of the
Late
1990s, and we grew up in those times, and we're born in the 1970s, late
70s, man.
70s, but
That would matter
70s,
regardless.
yeah, late 70s nonetheless. And the reason why this is an important topic is because we came from the baby boomers. I mean, Jai did not grow up in Canada, so maybe the baby boomer thing didn't really affect him as much. But nonetheless, we grew up in a time where we saw the real effects of blue collar hard work. I'll be the first one to admit, I don't think I've ever done a hard day's work in my life because I've just been on a computer and I get paid. And so I can imagine my son and my daughters, what grueling work do they see me doing? I'm on my couch half the time working. I'm on headphones and I'm getting paid remotely. And then the other part of it is before COVID, I would be away. I would be away in the offices with my clients. And it's not like I came home with dirt and grime and what a hard day. I'm like, okay, it's just, I do what I love. So what I'm trying to say is I grew up, and I can't necessarily speak for Jai, but I think you might agree. I grew up where I saw struggle after work. I saw the pain of my parents. I worked in the factory where my mom worked for 12-hour shifts. I know what it's like to be up all night with pure noise in a bright factory, and you don't even see any daylight. And then all of a sudden it's 11, and then you leave at 7 in the morning, and it's day, and then you sleep throughout the day, and then so that's a different world. My kids don't see that. I've seen that. And so how do we raise our kids? How do we grow our kids and still instill those values in terms of work ethic, in terms of quality of work, in terms of retrospection, in terms of just doing what you love, finding passion in a world where everything is information overload? How do we do that, Jai?
So I was watching a video on, I think it was YouTube, and there was this father. This kid must have been probably 4. Could have been more than 4. He was at a boxing gym, and the boy was crying. So the reason he was crying is because they were teaching him how to punch and block. So he had to put the hands up to block and then punch. But he didn't block, and then they hit him with, like, if you don't block, the boxing coach hit him in the face with this foam thing. So he goes to his dad and he was crying, bawling his eyes out. But the dad did something interesting. He's like, "Why are you crying?" He's like, "Because the coach hit him in his eyes." And the dad's like, "Why are you crying?" "Okay, if you're not going to tell me why you're crying, go run a lap. Until you can express yourself, you're going to keep running." The boy was going back and forth. He was running. And then finally, dad asked him, "Are you ready to talk now?" He was still crying. Told him to continue. Finally, the boy stopped. Then he told him why he was crying was because the coach hit him in the eye. And the dad's like, "You know why you got hit? He's because when the coach tells you to do this so that you don't get hit in the face, he knows what he's trying to teach you because he doesn't want you to get hit in the face. And that's what happened. So now I'm going to show you. So do this." And the boy did that. And then he tried to hit him. And the boy, of course, his hands was blocking his face. And dad's like, "You see? But now you punch." And 1, 2. And then next thing the boy starts smiling. And the dad's like, "You see what I'm telling you?" And the boy's like, "Yeah." And he's laughing and gives him a hug. That is parenting from a dad's perspective 101. The guy he nailed everything. What I'm trying to say is, we're not going to be able to teach our kids to grind in the workplace like our parents did, but we can teach them how to be tough. Tough love. So my son comes to me a lot of times, "Daddy, can you help me do this?" My first response is always, "Did you try?" "No," or sometimes yes, and I'm try harder. "Daddy, I tried." "Try again." "Daddy, I tried." "Try harder." So he's used to this point now where he's like, if I go to dad is not going to, I have to have tried several times. And he knows that I know that he hasn't tried. I'm not going to help him. But these are the things we have to teach our kids. We need to teach them to be tough. Tough because the world is not going to forgive them. The world's not going to be nice to them. The world's not going to be kind. So every time they fail, we don't pick them up and say, oh, cuddle them. But it's from a man's perspective, it has to be tough love. Yeah.
My wife always hates me
Oh, yeah,
because
they will.
the kids, the kids, my older ones, not necessarily my 6-year-old son, but my daughters, they always look for me for validation, and she validates them too. And they're her step parent kids, and then her biological, but she's known them all her whole life. And she always like gets frustrated because they will ask her her opinion, but they'll want my opinion, and then when I give them, they'll definitely act more like, yeah, daddy said he liked it versus, wait a minute, I said I liked it too. Why, how come they're not jumping for joy?
Yeah.
And I think the reason being is because as a father, I'm not
No.
being the best friend. And I'm one of those people where don't know if it's the father of the year perspective, but if my daughters do something and it sucks, I'm going to say it sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to
Yeah,
say
I
it
was just gonna
sucks, but
say,
I'm going to be like,
yeah.
you know what? I'm going to give you, here, I'll give you a perfect example. Perfect example. My daughter, my 16-year-old, this is 3 years ago. All of her friends made on the honor roll except for her. So during when she got her degree, I just said, I'm proud of you. I said, I'm proud of you. But I'm just trying to figure out how come all your friends got on the honor roll, but you. And I remember the mothers, all of a sudden, they got back to me. Oh, Kira's now sad. She's disappointed. And she was crying a little bit because you were proud of her. I'm like, no, no, no. I did say I'm proud of her, but I just asked a question because I know she's smart. And her friends are clearly smart. So that's all. Just a question. I think next year, the year after, despite all the women telling me
He
that it
got on
was
the
too
honor
hard,
roll.
she made the honor roll. Exactly. She made the honor roll. And so the moral of the story is, I think the problem is, and this is my problem with our current generation, it's about being liked more than hated. And it's not hate, but I think I would rather my kids respect me than like
And
me.
would you rather they feared you or respected you? And it could be a little bit of both, but would you just consider fear um a non-negotiable in that you don't want them to fear you at all in any way, shape, or form, that you just want them to respect you?
I think a bit of respect will always come a bit of fear. Because to respect something means you got to be thinking about it and you got to think about the consequences. And consequences are always something that somebody doesn't want to deal with. Ultimately, that's what I want. And I think that's what I'm trying to achieve, where it's not necessarily fear, but respect with a hint of fear. Then I'll give you another perfect example of my 16-year-old. There's a bit of situation, and then she was giving an excuse as to why she didn't do something. And she basically said, well, daddy, you're scary sometimes. And so I didn't want to do it the wrong way and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, kind of, and I'm like, okay. And I'm in her room, by the way. And I'm like, okay, so you fear me, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Have I ever said that your room could be messy? No. This place is a pigsty because your room is so messy right now. So how do you really fear me? Because I've never tolerated you having a dirty room, yet your room is a pigsty. So I'm challenging you on that. I think it's a bit of you didn't want to do it. You weren't motivated to do it enough. And coupled with the fact that I would be upset if you did it wrong, even though I was the one that motivated you to do it in the first place. So if you look at it even from that perspective, it doesn't make sense. If I'm motivating you to do something, I can't expect you to be perfect at it.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, these are the things that I try to instill in my kids. I want them to respect me. I don't want them to fear me, but I want them to respect me. But the other thing too is the one thing I'll do different than how my parents did it. I want to communicate
Yes.
with you. I want them to know why I'm doing something. But this is what I do though. You're not going to know when I do something or when I'm going to punish you. And that's the fact. I don't I don't do the whole 3 strikes and you can anticipate when dad is going to do. No, you do one little thing, you might lose internet for the whole week. Versus you do something crazy, I might just say don't do it. The whole point is I try to keep my kids on their toes. You never know what's going to set off daddy.
It's
You
good.
just don't. And I'll admit, I'm very passive aggressive. I don't scream, I don't shout. But if you do something wrong and you're not respecting me, you're going to find out. And it may be the easy way, maybe the hard way. So you're better off just listening. And I always tell them, if you're not sure, the onus is on you to make sure I'm happy. You can't just assume that, oh, daddy didn't say that. No, 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 no. I'm the parent here. I've gone through all that. No, if you are not sure if this is something that should be done the way that needs to be done, ask. Because when you want those Jordans, when you want those Nikes, you'll nag me till kingdom come. So I know you're able to talk to me. But when this is questionable, you don't want to talk. So those little type of things I do to try to keep with that behavior and not instill spoiled kids. What about you?
So my dad was in the military. So I was raised different. See. So it was, I know.
I can imagine.
The funny thing is, he was the nicest guy. Like, he wasn't the number of times my dad actually physically beat me. Like, it wasn't a lot. And I definitely did. Playing it back now, I did terrible things. That's why I got in trouble for that. But he was very calm for the most part. But he had this regiment. Like, you could, of course, military guy. So, but I said that to say this. My wife always tells me that I'm too harsh. Like, I'm very, like, it's just a boy, like, he's just a kid. He's just a baby. But that baby's going to grow up into a boy. And that boy is going to grow into a man. You don't want that baby to grow up into a baby. You want him to progress into a boy and into a man. And that's always been my philosophy. So yes, I admit, sometimes I'm a little bit hard on it. But guess what? He knows that I love him. Because for some reason, kids get tough love. They get it. And I think they crave it too. I mean, not tough to the extent where you're going to be harsh with them, but you have to communicate why if they're in trouble, you have to communicate why they're in trouble. Not just punish them without telling them why. And I think that's the worst thing some parents did as we growing up. They just punished us and not because why they were punishing us anyway. You know what I mean? But in this day and age, you need to communicate with your kids and tell them what they're doing wrong and why they're not getting that iPad for a week. Right. One thing my son did the other day, I was proud of him, but I'm not going to tell him that I'm proud of him because it was bad. But I understood that he's getting smarter. So I sent him to bed, and lo and behold, this boy took his iPad and went underneath the sheets with the lights off and watching the iPad. But, classic, right? And of course, you're going to know because the light's bright, but he's not going to know that. And I walk into his room, and then he turned it off. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I couldn't sleep, so I started watching my iPad again." "Have you done this before?" "Yes, Daddy." "How many times?" "I don't know." So, and I explained to him, like, you're going to get in trouble. But the only reason you're not going to get into as much trouble is because you told me the truth that you've done it many times. That's communication. So you see now, my son is not going to want to lie to me anymore because he knows, wait a minute, if I tell Daddy the truth, I'm not going to get in as much trouble as I should have. That's teaching him something, right? And that's teaching him something. And I think that's the message we have. We have to be tough with them. Of course, he's going to get in trouble, and he did get in trouble. But at the same time, there's a silver lining to it. So he knows not to do that again, but he knows what to do the next time. So raising, especially boys, man, like I don't have daughters, so I don't know what that feels like. But raising a boy, and my friends echo the same thing. Like, you have to be tough. And it's hard because their mothers always, they're bless their hearts. They mean well, but they're going to be soft. Like, it's not in them to be tough. I mean, funny enough, my wife is the only one that really spanks him when he does something wrong. I don't. I just have a very, very loud voice where when I talk, he starts shaking. And so I've learned not to yell as much anymore because I'd like to your point, I don't want a situation where he's like scared, like shaking and stuff. I just wanted to respect with that
Mhm.
little bit of fear in there. Not too much, but just enough to know that,
Exactly.
man, there's consequences. Yeah.
Exactly. With my son, he 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 lost his Beyblades or something at school. I don't know if you know what
I
Beyblades are, but it's
think.
just a
Yeah.
thing for a 6-year-old. You heard of them? And for me, my whole thing was every time I pick him up after school, I'm like, "Did you get your Beyblades back?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, well, what did you do to try to get them back?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Did I not tell you at least go to teacher, try to find the person, try to talk to him?" And he didn't. And so I usually keep candies in my car, and usually he'll see me eating them, he'll want some, and I'm like, "No, no, you are not listening to me. So there's
Mhm.
consequences to that not listening. So when you start listening and when you get your Beyblades, yeah, you can have some." So I once again I pick him up and I'm like, "Where are your Beyblades?" And I look for progression. Remember, I look at
Mhm.
behavior, not necessarily words. I look at behavior. So this time he said he did see the boy and he asked him for the Beyblade, and then the boy said, just kind of brushed him off. And so, okay, that's something different. Last time you didn't do anything, now you did something. Okay. Did you tell the teacher? No, I didn't. So once again, I'm like, I told you to tell the teacher. So he didn't. So then next day, again, you know, what's up with the Beyblades? And said, I think he didn't do anything that day. But then, so my point, what I'm trying to get at is I went from giving him no candy to now I usually used to give him 3 pieces. Now I said, okay, you only get 1 piece of candy until you get those Beyblades back. So I'm not necessarily completely punishing him like before when he wasn't
Mhm.
listening at all. So I'm giving him a little bit of positive reinforcement. But you're not getting all those candies that you used to until you get the Beyblades. And I'm not letting go.
Or you can't.
I'm not letting.
Or you can't.
So versus their mom or his mom, she bought him new Blades. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
you
answer.
don't
I
need
think
to
you know what I'm
explain. I
saying.
get it. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
So so I couldn't necessarily say you don't have any Blades. He has brand new ones. But my whole thing is, you want these candies after school? Sorry, you're gonna be limited until you get this Blade back. So long story short, he got the Beyblades
Nice.
back.
Nice.
I, I said,
Nice.
great, good job. Here's your 3 candies now. And he was
Yeah.
so happy. So to your point, that's what fathers do. We may look, I think from the outside in, I think our overall actions, if you compare them to our wives or women,
Oh
we're
yeah. No,
evil.
no, no.
Let's just be honest. Like, let's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
be
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
We're pure
100%.
evil.
Yep.
But at the
Yep.
end of the day, but go on. I just
No,
want
no,
to
I
say your
am the
thing real
evil
quickly.
one. Like even my mother-in-law, she's like, I'm so mean to him. Like, why are you mean to that boy? Why do you I'm just looking at them, I'm just quiet. Like you guys are not gonna appreciate this now. When this boy's like a teenager, grown man, he he will tell you some of the things that I did that he appreciates. So you're not gonna see it now. And maybe that's my reward. It's gonna be after, after the fact. So I'm just gonna keep quiet and keep doing what I'm doing. It's not gonna discourage me because raising kids today is a lot different. And the funny thing is the way they like, okay, with your story, when the boy didn't come home with his bear blades, like guess what? You're getting slapped in the face right off the bat. Like there's no questions asked. Like from when they pick you up to you get in the car to you get home, you're getting smacked in the face until those things will come back real quick. But you can't do that in today's day. I don't know what it is, but it's just the generation of kids we're raising. Smacking them around is
Yeah.
not going to teach them anything. There's the occasion where you,
I
there's the
my
occasion where you,
my
yeah, go
dad
ahead.
used to real quickly. My dad used to kick me.
You can imagine. Why would you kick a kid?
He would kick me down, like
Why would you?
just kick me. And he had those, those
Oh my
dress
God. Yeah,
shoes,
doing the
the
point
ones
hard,
that had the
hard
heart.
cover.
Yeah, he used to
So
kick me.
imagine doing that to a kid now. That
Yeah,
would be inhuman. Like you go to jail, literally go to jail. But you can't even like even the character built in you wouldn't even allow you to do it. But So we have to find ways to teach these kids to be tough. Not through the
Yeah.
beatings, not through that, but mentally tough, because I think that's where they're going to thrive. Your son now, he
Oh,
knows
and
that,
then
you know what? If I lose something, I got to go get it. I got to go find it. That's the way it
exactly.
is.
And listen, let me clarify. Don't get it twisted. I beat my kids when they're younger, but I beat them so much that I don't need to beat them no more. Don't get it twisted. Like, remember I told you, you don't know what's gonna set me off.
Yeah.
And so two of my kids. So I distinctly remember the two kids that tested me, my son and my youngest daughter. So my youngest daughter, she would just sit there and I would warn her. I'd be like, Kira, you put those socks on. If you don't put those socks on, when I come down here again, you're getting a spanking. You understand that? She wouldn't listen. She would test my patience. Whack! Right on the thigh, right on that meaty
That's where it
part,
hurts. Yeah, I
right on
know.
her
That's where it
thigh.
hurts.
And then she would be bawling, and I'd be like, I told you, I warned you. My son, he used to do it all the time when it was 3 and 4. We'd be like, Tristan, pick up the stuff. You spilt it, you clean it up. He would be like just standing there. No, I'd be like, Tris, I'm warning you, Tris. I'm warning you. You do not do this. I'm going to hit you. You wouldn't listen. And because he's a boy, you're
Oh
getting three
yeah.
times as much. My daughter only got one smack. You're a boy. You're getting, I don't care. I know
You
your
can
flesh
take
is the
it.
same at
You can
that young
take it.
age, but you're a boy. You got a little
Yeah.
testosterone up in you. You got to deal with this. And so you still cleaned it up. So don't get it twisted. I spank them when they're younger, but now that they're
Yeah.
older, they have not
There's
done
no
things
need
that
to.
are egregious to the point where they're not directly violating anything that I've told them to do. There's misunderstanding, there's miscommunication. That's different. But they used to literally just try my
That's what they do.
patience.
They test you.
No,
Well,
that is
they're
not
testing you,
happening.
right? They're
That's right.
testing you because they're trying to see how far they
Yep,
can go. That's kids.
that's
Because
right.
you see some kids and
And I keep that
see
leash.
some kids with their parents. Like I watch
No,
videos and like kids hate you, mom. Oh, F you, mom. Or F you, dad. I'm just like, how? How is that?
yeah, it's
Like,
crazy.
uh, my son thinking about it, he'll get a smack in the face. Like, if he's thinking about it, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not, I don't know. And that's where, as men, I think we need to be tough to our kids, tougher on the boys, but it has to be done with love. And that's why I gave that, told that story about the reel that I watched. It was tough because the boys 3 or 4, they 4 at the most. But guess what? That embodies love because at the end of the day, the boy was laughing with his dad, gave his dad a hug, and he learned. That's where you want to practice. That's how you want to teach your kids. They go through the pain, but they learn.
Yeah. And you're lucky because you don't have daughters. I almost feel daughters, though I agree with you, the boys are more in danger because of this world we're coming into. But I feel it's harder
Mm.
raising daughters because here's what my challenge is. I want my daughter to be successful, but I also want her to understand that you need to be led by a man. And it's really hard, right? It's really hard to do that because I want my daughters to be the best, but I also want them to be able to be with the best men. And most men that are of quality, they don't care about how much money a
No,
woman
they
makes.
don't.
They don't care about that. They care about how much you can be, to
Useful.
your point, be peaceful to support them. And so you're kind of lucky, Jai, that you don't have to deal with that because it's tough. It's really, really
Yeah.
tough because so for example, I want to be tough on my daughters, but then I also have a lot of feminine energy. They have two mothers in effect. And it's challenging because you get if the two mothers agree and then daddy doesn't agree, then it makes sense
Or
that they're
against
right.
one.
And it's really, really
Mm.
tough. Yeah. And then my fear is that I don't want my daughters to become these overly feminine women where now in your childbearing years or in your 30s, you now have to settle for some
Yeah,
man
yeah.
child, like baby boy. like some man that just leeches off of you and treats you initially like a queen, but then lives off of you. I don't think any man of any stature wants to make less than a woman. Now, this is very controversial. I want to make it clear. I'm not saying about in terms of economic power. If obviously you marry a lawyer and you're IT, you got to understand she has better chances of making more. But what I'm saying is, I think most men, when they have confidence, they can help lead a
Yes.
family better. So I want to make it clear, I'm not just talking about money per se, raw money, but I think when a man is actualized, and part of the actualization is making and earning enough that you know can support your wife and your kids, that is pivotal. That is probably the magic thing that we all want is as men. We want to provide. We can't nurture. We never have babies. So I want to make sure that my daughters can still find that quality man and not get sucked into the whole bunch of those type of men that will act that they're okay, but then they just want someone to just leech off of. I don't want that. Even if the man's just trying to do something, working on something, the trick is typically when you're actualized, you have vision. And I need to make sure that that man that takes my daughter's hand has a vision for his life and has confidence in that vision.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So you're so lucky, Jai. I mean, lucky per se is
I
just,
get it.
it's
It's a
just a
different
different,
dynamic.
it's a
Yeah,
different
it's a different reason.
raising.
And I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe that's
yeah.
why my wife sees that and she's always wanted boys. She doesn't want girls. And I
It's
want a daughter
interesting.
because girls take care of their dads when, you're older. But at the end of the day, I think I just want healthy kids. I think that's the most important thing to me. Kids that you raise them right, they do right, they're good members of society in the future. They're not a burden. That's what I want. And I think that's why my wife still thinks I'm evil and I'm too tough on this kid. But the boy, I leave the house and he's like, "Where's
Yeah.
daddy?" Like, I miss daddy. Or I travel, I miss daddy. Like, so kids know. They crave tough love. And that's where as a parent, you have to use discernment. So you want to be tough, but not too tough. And not to the point where they don't want you around. Then you're doing too much. But you want to be tough to the point where they still love you, and they want to be around you all the time. So when I'm with my son, like he comes in with a good grade and he's like, "Daddy, do I get a reward?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're going to get a reward. What's my reward?" And I'm going to get tickled. And I tickle him and he's like, "That's not a real reward." Or you just play rough. But things like that, they love because as boys, that's how they learn. And I was watching another reel or YouTube video where it says, when you play rough with boys as kids, it teaches them confidence. I don't know how true that is, but I just thought it was interesting that, you know how it is with algorithms, like the moment you start doing stuff with your kids and then next thing it just comes up on your phone. So it's like, I don't know, but I think there's a correlation. There's a correlation with confidence and building in being relatable with your kids, making sure you play rough with them because they're boys, they can take it, and just be stern with them as well. When I'm talking to my son, look at me in the eye. Don't look out. Don't look elsewhere. I'm talking to you. Look me in the eye when I talk to you. So now he knows when I'm talking to him, it looks me right in the eye. If I go out, I come back. If you're doing something, you walk up to me, welcome home, daddy. Like, just be respectful. Yeah, I don't want you to go out there and embarrass me in front of other people. Like, you have to be that kid where people say, "Oh my, that's Jaya's kid. Oh man, he's such a he's well behaved." That's what I want to hear. I don't want you to embarrass me when we go out. I don't want to hear it. So,
And there's also a dark side of being in your kid's life and being invested in them and being that evil parent, quote unquote. So 2 times my heart sank. It's interesting. I guess I got lucky. My first daughter really hasn't given us any trouble, to be honest with you. It's always the 2 last ones.
the middle. It's always the middle. I'm a middle
daughter.
child too.
So yeah. So I remember, I'll never forget it. It was hard to hear, but I think my daughter was 3, my youngest was 3 or 4. And I remember one time I heard her say to her older sister, she was like, I wish I never had a daddy. And it's just simply because I'm tough. I don't let up, right? And then I have shared custody. So they are only with, at that time, they're only with me like maybe 2 times a
Oh,
week.
okay.
And yeah, she basically just whispered. She didn't know I heard, but she was only 4 or
It's a
5.
kid.
But
Yeah.
she basically said, I wish I didn't have a daddy. And then when my son, sometimes I hear him going to his mom, I don't want to go downstairs. I don't want to talk to daddy.
Oh, I get it. I've
I'm
gotten that
afraid.
before. It
Yeah,
really
so
hurts. It
it
hurts.
does hurt. And this is where I think how we were raised, we know what fear is, we know what disappointment is, and we know how to handle it. Versus this generation, I don't think they understand that. So I think it's a good sign. So any of you fathers out there that if your heart's sunk by the things that you've heard your kids say, that's a good thing. You're doing the right thing. You're good. Obviously there's caveats, abuse, child
No,
abuse,
no. That's
issues like that, taking your past issues and your past aggressive issues on your children,
that's wrong.
that's wrong. And you need counseling. But if you're just doing this and you have a vision and you feel that your kids are probably a little bit too spoiled and you want to just instill some discipline, if you see that and you hear them saying these things, don't discourage yourself. Don't let anyone tell you that you're doing something wrong. No, you're on the right track. If you can even attest by myself and Jai, we have both been there where our kids tell us the most gut-wrenching things that make our hearts sink. But at the end of the day, they love us. And just I'll add one last thing. At every time I've ever spanked my son the most, literally I'm thinking he needs me. He wants to be around me after the cry, after the
Yes.
tears. It's really
It's an
interesting.
interesting phenomenon. And that my last thoughts on on this as well. When my son gets in trouble, he does everything to want to please me afterwards, to your point. So the other day, my son he doesn't share anything. Like he's eating something and I just go, I'm a dad. I do that all the time. I'll just go and take his meal just because. Because it's just I just want to, I'm a dad. Yeah,
I pay
exactly.
for
I
it.
would understand. And he gets mad. But when I punish him and maybe he's getting out of it, even though he's still in the punishment, like he can't watch TV or he can't play with his toys. And his mom cut a mango the other day and he's like, well, Daddy, do you want some of my mangoes? I know you don't share mango. You're just doing it because you want to get. That shows that you're doing something right. And I think we all experience this as dads, and it's important to talk about it. And I like the fact that you brought it up, Kevin, that when you hear your kids say these things like, oh, as painful as it is, I don't want to be around daddy. Daddy's too mean. You're doing something good. It might not seem that way. And to Kevin's point, there's many caveats to this. Don't bring your past to your kids and don't abuse your kids. That's a no-no. That's in fact, that's a worse thing. But outside of that, you're doing the right thing as a parent and you hear those things, you're doing something good.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all found this informative. Again, please like, subscribe, add any comments, message us, let us know if you're liking the content. If you have anything to add, please let the conversation continue in the comments. This is a very important topic. Our future is our kids, literally, and we need to make sure that we're preparing them for the future. Last thing, generational curses. We do not want to bring our generational curses to our children. We want to grow and we want to allow them to be the better generation than what we have. So, with that said, we bid you adieu. See you in the next podcast, and we're out.
Good night, guys.
God bless.